this is Dave Bazar, and I'm here with Mike Fenn. And today, on the latest, we're going to go through the August shipment report, the position report. So, Mike, to set the stage, this is the first report for the 2021 crop. I guess I need to summarize a little bit because we're going to be doing these every month, and I think I want to try to kind of give you guys a sense of what we're looking at. I'm sure we'll add on a particular month when something special comes up, but basically we'll hit some of the basics, right?
Yep.
So why don't you start off by giving us, say, one of the numbers that you're looking at on this first report?
I like to just kind of jump to the shipment numbers. The first one, it's the first thing that everybody's kind of talking about. You know, there's a group out there that kind of gets together. They give their estimate for what the shipments will be for that month or the coming month. So this month we shipped 207 million pounds, a record. It was up 7% from the year before, and last August was a massive record. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's continuing. It's setting the right tone for just getting out the gates and really kind of continuing from what the 2020 trend was.
Okay, so when we look at these position reports, we're going to be focused on shipments. So that is all the product that is left our facility in that month of August in this case, right? So it could be old crop, it could be new crop. We all call it the crop, though, right now. Right? And to set your tone for this thing, we shipped 2,850,000,000. Is that correct?
No, 2.9.
Oh, excuse me. 2.9 was what we shipped last year. So everything he tells you is going to be a percentage above that. So this 2.9 is a collective of every month. So we live and die by every month, but
I think you live and die by every month up until a certain point when you have enough data, enough of a trend behind you, right? So you really are just really early in this crop year. But I think once you're 6 months in, you've pretty much solidified what your trend is, or 7 months in, right? You're there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you're out to the gates in a good start. And then I also like to look at how many pounds were sold in the month, those net sales that we keep talking about.
Okay. But let me stop you before you do that. So in this, what was shipped is included old crop, new crop. So could you explain a little bit why maybe the shipments are good? Was that a function of that?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a function of how many 2020 crop pounds were either sold and or unsold that ended up shipping in the month of August.
Yeah.
So you had a 600 million pound carry out, and so a lot of that's going to get shipped August, September, October.
And they did adjust that number to give you the final number, and that's 608, right?
Yeah.
So 608 is the official carry in. It was the carry out of the previous year. It's now the carry in. That we made a big deal about on how big it was or not big. This number, because it was sufficient enough in size, allowed you the ability to ship early, right?
Right.
So August is obviously going to be heavily loaded with the previous crop is what made up those shipments. Okay, now go on to your other item.
So I was looking at that net sales number. So basically how many pounds were sold in any given month, and specifically August for us now. And so it kind of gives you a good idea of what's happening out there in the market.
And that number, this
was 138 million.
So
it was less than we had sold last year.
So, and that, if you're trying to read a little bit off of it, that's a little bit of a hesitation maybe on our side of, boy, I don't really want to just sell if I think my crop's small and things like that. Maybe buyers too, a little hesitant, no?
Yeah, to some degree, I would think. But I think it's coming out of the sellers more than it is the buyers. Right. The sellers have been dragging their feet, trying to wait and see, what's actually going to happen. We have Conrad in here, and he's been one of those growers who has been waiting and seeing and wanting to see what his yields are, and his yields aren't there.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the net sales for the month are seller driven.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right. So commitment numbers, you're going to be looking at those.
Yep.
Shipment numbers, we were looking at those. Go on to a receipt number.
So again, it's really early at this point in the year to be able to use that as any sort of indication as to crop size. It's more about crop speed coming in, I think, right now. And so we've received 14.5% more pounds than we did this time last year. And I think that's representative of that stress that we had seen throughout the state right? So what it sounded like was people who had really stressed trees, they were shaking them, they were sweeping them, they weren't even letting them sit and dry out. They were windrowing them and delivering them straight into the hullers, and it still is coming in with low moisture. Those are probably extreme cases.
Yeah.
But I think that was happening. I think that's why that number looks to be larger than it was last year, just because the speed at which it's coming in is much faster.
Yeah, it's a curious one because it's one that I wouldn't have thought would have been there, but there it is. I think, the way this works is we will be talking this receipt number but really till we get to the final, right? And the final, to me, in most people's eyes, is typically March. You start to see, okay, this is everything that's going to come in. In a crop that's really big, that does seem to last that long, right? Your hullers are running longer through the season.
Historically, that would be a longer period to go out to March because most guys are done by Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going to have a shorter crop, what happens is usually you see those receipt numbers tracking pretty much like the last year, and then all of a sudden they just stop. There's no real tail to the dog.
Right.
So again, we'll hit this every month. It probably is not going to have much meaning, really, the receipts, until you get into that maybe November, right? That you see in December, or December's that you see in January. I would think that then that's when we can peg down that how big this crop is. Okay, then you want to wind back to just where those shipments went and what it looked like this time.
Yeah, so I think it's the same story we've kind of been preaching for the 2020 crop, where the export markets are really the ones carrying these reports, or carrying the month. So the export markets were up 10%, then the U.S. domestic market was only up 1%.
Yeah, little disappointing again. And I think that's one we'll keep looking at and keep focusing on and keep hoping maybe that it starts to perk back up, because that'll help push everything.
Right.
So your in-shell deal, you want to hit that since we always talk quite a bit about it?
Yeah, so last year India had a phenomenal August. They took just over 40 million pounds in August, which was just absolutely massive for India. This year they took 36 million pounds, I believe it is. And that originally I thought that we were going to perform a little bit under that, right? So they were down 10% compared to last year. I thought it was going to be a little bit more than that, just due to logistical issues more than anything else.
Well, and I think we're going to jump back and forth as we do these every time. Last year, India and China, which are both big in-shell users, were a big part of our shipments, right? We'll be focused on them. How are they taking it with the new pricing? We'll also be looking at, again, is Europe pulling in very much? How did they do this last month?
They were up 14%. So Europe has really been performing quite well.
Yeah, so we're going to be jumping back and forth to region to see how they're consuming, how they're consuming at our better numbers.
And the Asian markets did very well as well. I mean, they China, Vietnam, they all had a very big month.
Okay. So I guess that summary is we're going to be at this every month. Hopefully not living and dying by it, but that's what we do, waiting to see the trends develop. We'll be hitting receipts. We'll be hitting shipments. We'll be hitting how are sales going and what area of the world they are. You got anything else to add to it?
No, I don't.
Okay, that wraps up our report on the August position report. Again, that's position report number 1. And this has been Dave and Mike.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.